Welcome back, friends. And if this is your first time here, my name is Jasmine and I watch a shit ton of TV. And one of those shows that I watch is The Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, the ladies are back from Grenada. Everybody's getting their bearings. Phaedra has an event coming up, and we learned some sad news about Londi. Let's just jump into the recap. So to kick off this episode, we see that Shamia is taking her daughter to the doctor. We know when she was in Grenada, there were some issues with the caretaker, and Shamia was afraid that her daughter would get sick. So we open this episode going to the doctor. Shamia tells us that she has strep throat, and then she doesn't want to pass that on to her doctor. Just to quickly wrap this story up, it's always great to see Shamia with her children. You can tell that she loves being a mom, and I'm really happy that her daughter is okay. I can only imagine how scary it is to have a child who is sick and can get really sick if you give them any little thing like strep throat or a common cold. So I'm really happy that her daughter wasn't super sick. And speaking of other housewife children, we see Phaedra's sons, and it's so interesting to see them so grown up. Like, Phaedra has raised such confident young men, and you can tell that they're gentlemen, and she's raising them to be productive members of society. We see later on in the episode when they're at her event and they walk out at the end and Aiden gets on the mic. I don't know. I feel like so many people and so many children these days have stage fright. So to see him just grab the mic and try to do some crowd control, hey, how y'all doing? I was like, this is so sweet. It's always great to see the kids of celebrities or reality TV stars adjusting really well to childhood and becoming young teenagers right in front of our eyes. On the flip side of that, Kelli is still going through a really nasty divorce. And you know, she has 4 daughters. And I can only imagine how stressful it is when you're going through a divorce. I've never gone through one, but I know people who have, and your finances are all out of whack. Just everything changes so drastically. And that has to be hard on kids. And I think that's why the parents are always so stressed out with the divorce. Yes, there's a financial and emotional change that's going to happen between you and your ex-partner, but it's such a drastic change when you have children involved. And so my heart is always going out to people with children who are experiencing divorces. It's unfortunate that her husband or ex-husband had to go to prison because he wasn't paying child support, but that is a huge responsibility and he should be doing that. It sucks that they weren't able to finalize their divorce at this hearing. And I don't know, I actually didn't look this up before I started recording. I don't know if she's officially divorced now, but hopefully they got that together. Now we bump over to Brit's house, and Portia and Cynthia are paying her a visit. It looks like her house is undergoing some renovations, and I do think she mentioned that in an earlier episode that they were getting something ready for her mother. So maybe that's why she didn't want the ladies to come over. I also think with Brit, she is a very prideful person, and maybe she doesn't think that her home is as nice as the other ladies' homes, and so that might be why she didn't want to have them over. But I'm so glad that she did take Phaedra's advice and invited them over, because it actually seemed like they had some fun energy between the 3 of them. I think that Cynthia is one of those people that unless she absolutely hates you, she's gonna make it fun or at least make it light. And I think that Portia and Brit have similar energy sometimes, and Portia is a really fun girl despite everything else you can say about her. She's a really fun person, and so I feel like they both kind of brought a little more lightness out of Brit, even though Brit was dedicated to the drama, and that drama being trying to tell Portia how Shamia showed her text messages from Portia's therapist. Now, if what Brit is saying is true, Shamia is dead ass wrong for that. Because not only did your best friend tell you something in confidence, but it was also something that she was talking about in therapy, which adds another layer of sensitivity. So for you to just be showing that to somebody, especially somebody like Brit, Shamia, but again, I've been side-eyeing Shamia for a little bit over the last couple episodes actually. So this is just another thing that kind of confirms how I feel or how I'm starting to feel about her, but it's still really low to me. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out and what Portia is going to say to Shamia the next time they're in a space for this to be brought up. So now we're at Kelli's event at Williams Sonoma, and shout out to Kelli for having a partnership with Williams Sonoma. The guy that came up to Angela during this event was so thirsty. You can tell he either rehearsed this or was paid to do it. It's so late to me. I hate when people try to make a moment on reality TV and it's so obviously rehearsed. But Angela, my Angela, she's such a boss. I love when he walked up to her initially and she turns and she goes, "And how do I know you, Marcus?" And then in her confessional, she's, "Who are you?" And who gave you the license to speak to me? She is as close as we're going to get to the old school housewives with her delusions of grandeur. However, I will say it's probably not delusional for her because from what I've heard, Angela really does run with the cream of the crop in Atlanta. So she probably is serious when she's asking, who gave you the license to speak to me? Because he doesn't seem like somebody that she would typically run into. But one thing I do notice about Angela, and I'm a little indifferent with how I feel about this because she always attempts to be really unbothered when it comes to matters of her marriage, specifically any type of rumor that involves Charles. I do find that interesting, and I'll tell you one thing. I think that for Angela, I don't know if she actually cares if Charles is unfaithful to her. She seems very much like one of those women that like, men are men, and as long as you don't embarrass me, I can turn a blind eye to it, because she said he's done it in the past, and she obviously stayed with him. For her, I think it's more about maintaining this image, right? She doesn't want anybody to come between her union or her institution, if you will. Hello, Karen Huger. She doesn't want anybody to come between the image of that marriage. And so, yeah, I think for him trying to bring up allegations of him cheating, I don't think Angela's ever going to really care about it. And when that man did that toast, cheers if your name isn't Angela and your man isn't cheating on you, what was it? It was so late to me. Oh gosh, I hate people like that just try to do too much. I'm so glad he was escorted out by security. But Angela is so funny because a couple scenes later, she's talking about how she has people in her life who don't play about her or Charles. And so they went and paid this guy Marcus a visit, and the producers were asking her, do you mean the mafia? And I'm right now currently watching The Sopranos for the first time, and so that was like a really cool crossover for me. But I laughed out loud because I'm like, not Goongela, not her calling her goons. That's my new name for her, Goongela. Because what do you mean you have people that are going to show up at someone's house? I'm not messing with you. I'm glad I'm a fan of you, Angela, because I would hate to be an enemy. And I know Phaedra's role on this show is to provide shade and be the bone carrier and the person to kind of come in and keep everything moving. But it was so funny, I guess. Not funny haha, but like funny weird, the way she ran to her car so that she could call Portia to tell her the tea about this man confronting Angela. Like, it underscores this idea that a lot of women are so giddy and happy when another woman is miserable, kind of like celebrating her misery and that whole misery loves company thing. And like I said, I understand that that is partially Phaedra's role on the show, but that stuck out to me. I think as it pertains to Kelli and Brit, I really understand where Kelli is coming from. She's not wrong for wanting more out of Brit, and I think that Brit could have told her exactly why she had some beef with her. But I also think on Kelli's end, when you have an issue with your friend, and we know how our friends are, if you find yourself in a public setting with them and there are other people around, that actually isn't the time to stonewall them and ignore them and embarrass them further, right? I'm not saying she has to hold Brit's hand or anything like that, but we know that Brit is really sensitive. And for what it's worth, Kelli has integrated this friendship a lot more seamlessly than Brit has. And so I think when you are close with someone and you see that they're struggling with this particular group of people, you don't want to embarrass them in front of that same group of people, right? I'll pull you to the side, let you know I'm pissed. I really don't want to talk to you at this event, but I didn't want to leave you hanging. We'll talk about it later. And then you guys can have it out at another time. But I just don't believe in like further publicly embarrassing someone. But again, I can't tell somebody how to feel, and Kelli was going through a lot. Brit didn't call her at all, and she was hurt. So I understand being hurt. I just don't know. I think my logic would have kicked in a little bit more, and I would have really considered the way that my friend was going to react. But it's not Kelli's job to anticipate all of Brit's emotions and needs, and so I understand. I just think that all of these women handle conflict in a way that's really intriguing to me based on how old they all are. And I'm not saying old like they're decrepit. I just mean like they are at an age where I feel like conflict resolution should be a stronger skill than it seems to be with them. And then of course, Drew shows up late to this event. You want to know why Drew always pisses me off when she's late to everything? Because for one, just on a personal note, I hate people that are always late. Like, I'm at the point in my life where if I hang out with you and you're always like consistently late, I'm going to just start leaving. Because don't disrespect my time like that. Like, I'm respecting you by showing up on time at a time that we both agreed to. And if you can't show me the same respect, we don't need to be in each other's lives. Way back in the day when I used to intern at the Breakfast Club, Angela Yee and I formed a really good working relationship. And I remember one time she told me this advice, and it's always stuck with me. She told me that the best way to show somebody that you respect them is to show up on time. The day she told me that was the day I said, I will never be late if I can help it. Now, I'm not saying I'm on time all the time. I'm not saying that I've never missed something or kept someone waiting, but I am so apologetic whenever I do keep somebody waiting. I am so apologetic apologetic whenever I am running late, because I feel like, yeah, it is a respect thing. I respect you. It doesn't matter who you are. If I'm asking for your time, or if I've agreed to spend time with you, whether in person or virtually, if I'm late, I'm going to notify you. And if I'm not able to notify you, I'm going to be extremely apologetic about it. But I try to make it a point to not be late at all, because again, it's just a show of respect. So with Drew, her always being late is just like, you not respect these ladies. And it's also when she shows up, I'm like, I don't understand what makes her so late. She doesn't do anything super differently from the rest of the ladies. Like, she has kids, they have kids, so she can't use that as an excuse. She uses glam, but they also use glam. And it's not like she shows up looking 10 times better than anyone. And I said this before, I'm not saying she's ugly. Drew is beautiful, but they're all beautiful, right? So they all show up on time except for her. And she's not doing anything that should make her as late as she is. I don't get it. And that really annoys me about her. Anyway, closing out this episode, I think things got extremely nasty between Kelli and Brit. I mean, talking about somebody's abortion, that's so low. And that's one of those things that'll make me say, I can never be friends with you again, because I cannot trust you with any personal information. And I know Kelli's retort was to come for Brit's fertility. I think that's gross also. And I want to say, like, she was provoked. I don't know. That's one of those instances where I can't really say what I would do or what I would say. If somebody went that low and exposed something that deeply personal about me, I don't know if I would be mature enough to not retort in the same way that Kelli did, right? I don't know, but I think it's just nasty on both ends, because these are deeply personal issues that affect these women, and they're not something that you just throw out in an argument, especially when you're amongst people that you're not 100% friends with. That's awful. But yeah, with Brit, I'm really starting to see why she ends up not showing up to the reunion. She is just not really a good person, it seems. I don't know. It's always hard for me to make that harsh of a judgment on someone when I'm watching them on reality TV, because I recognize this is a heavily edited show that I'm watching. I know there's more to them than what we see, but it's also like the parts of you that we see, if they are that vile, I don't know if there are a lot of parts of you that are redeemable. I don't know, guys, but the season's wrapping up next week, so we're going to have the season finale, and then we're going to have the reunion. So I will, of course, be back to talk about that episode. Until next time, bye.